I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, here to do our 140th episode today, and a request from a good friend of ours, Greg Hatt, who's requested a number of albums. 311's Sound System from 1999, a bit of a throwback. We've done 311's new one from 2009, Uplifter. Now, Tom had the privilege of seeing 311 in concert last night.
My first 311 concert, woo!
And probably not his last. They come around here a lot because they're from Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Ames is very close to Omaha.
Every summer they do their Unity tour, and they go all over the place, and they usually hit up our area of central Iowa, which is impressive.
Because there's nothing like reggae rock in corn.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And Sound System was actually the first 311 album that I've ever heard. I actually heard it back when it was super popular on MTV, back when I was a young budding 11-year-old watching MTV, because there's girls! And then come Original, and you know, these guys came on TRL. And
yeah, I had been listening to 311 for a while.
Yeah, you
already.
were a tyke when you was
Yes,
you were barely out of diapers.
Yeah, and
he had 311 written on the back of his diaper. Maybe that was something else.
But this album was the first one of the... Well, I'd listened to Self-Titled and Transistor a lot by the time Sound System came out. Sound System was the first one that I went out and, like, bought for myself. I don't even know how. Maybe I got it for Christmas or something. But, so this album means a lot to me for sure, because it's very important to my childhood, you could say.
You'd have been 11?
No, I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tyke.
Yeah.
Barely out of diapers.
Really? In the 5th grade. It says something about your upbringing. Anyways.
You wore diapers for a long time.
This album was a change for them. These guys, you listen to their very early stuff, Music, Grassroots, and Self-Titled. Those were their first 3 albums, and they came out 93, 94, 95. Just bam, bam, bam. And, well, first off, just as far as the mood of this band, like you said, they're kind of reggae, rap rock with some metal in there, you know, kind of compared to Red Hot Chili Peppers, a little bit of Rage Against the Machine.
I think they sound like
Incubus.
A lot.
Yeah.
Old Incubus.
Yes. So that's what you get. A lot, you know, very heavy on the bass. Peanut is one of the most amazing bass players ever, a huge influence of mine. And this was a big step for them. Because from the early days where they were doing a lot more of the rap rock, for their first 3 albums, Transistor already saw a big change. That was probably the biggest change they made in their career, was Transistor in 1997. But that album, it was closer to a double album than a regular album, and they did a lot of experimentation all over the board. You had some of their old sound, and then you had a lot of this new stuff. Well, Sound System is the first album of theirs where you get pretty much all of that new sound of 311, that new brand of it. Mm-hmm. There's still some rocking on here, but the song structures, the formats of them are a lot more conventional. Whereas on Transistor, you get a lot more experimentation and just kind of strange songs that kind of go nowhere, which is why I love it.
And they still let some of that come out on this
song. A little bit.
Certain songs.
A little bit. But at the same time, it's like the sound of Transistor put into the and album format of their older stuff, mm-hmm. if that makes any sense. So it creates a very different listen. Yet at the same time, I feel like it's pretty cohesive. At least it is for me. But then again, I've listened to this album probably hundreds of times. And I really like it. And
you also have all their other albums to kind of bump it up against and go, this song sounds like something from this album. Like
exactly.
Like something I would do with Radiohead.
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually thought that this wasn't as cohesive as I'd like for it to be. Yeah, I feel like some of these songs really, really just were much more well put together than some of the other ones. I thought a lot of the songs, you mentioned, you know, kind of more basic structured, and I felt that just in sound they didn't play with it as much as they needed to really keep it, you know, moving and fresh. 311, one thing I want to note, Tom and I have been friends since, well, 2 years after you got into this album.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been friends for a long time. Tom's been trying to get me to listen to 311 forever, and I feel bad because I never really took him up on it until the past, year or two. I've listened to some 311 more, and then doing the show, I've gotten to really dive into some of the albums. This one, I feel like some of the songs are just so awesome and really take their sound to the next level. Now, 311's sound, to me, is very unique. And that's something I absolutely adore about this band, and I love their message of just, you know, having fun, being true to them. They're the nappy roots of reggae rap rock.
And it's interesting because kind of an influence where they get that from is Bad Brains with their PMA, Positive Mental Attitude.
Right.
And it's interesting because track 11, Leaving Babylon, is a cover of a Bad Brains song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like that song a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I really do think, though, that their sound, it's so fresh sounding. Now, I think that it turns critics off because it's like, they're blending like 4 genres that it's like, I'm gonna take pieces of glass and mix it with vinegar and then put some sugar on it and eat it for breakfast. Like, that's what it sounds like in your ears. And I think that struggles with critics sometimes because it's just, I mean, these guys aren't trying to save the world. They're not trying to blow the minds of all these music critics out there. They're not, you know, they're not Radiohead. They're not Andrew Bird. They're not some of those crazy acts. They're not the Dead Weather, which we're going to review next, and we're really excited about that one. These guys are just making music the way they know how, and they're doing a damn good job at it, and I think that they do a good job in this album. I just feel like some of the tracks are stronger than some of the other tracks, and when that happens, and especially on a 13-track album, that is a longer album. I mean, this thing's upwards of, it goes over 50, right?
It's somewhere around there, yeah.
I feel like it's a little loose. You could have tightened it up a bit, maybe dropped a song, made some of the songs better. I don't know, there's a whole bunch of things you can nitpick on. It's just, all in all, it could have been more cohesive.
You know what I would change about this album? I would drop the last 2 tracks.
I agree
to be honest.
I absolutely agree.
To tell you the truth, once I'm done with Leaving Babylon, I usually just stop the album because Mind Spin and Livin' and Rockin', I just don't like those songs.
You know what? I didn't like them either, and that's actually a lot of where my argument's coming from, is I think those tracks they actually lower the value of tracks like Can't Fade Me, track 5, which has this sweet-ass bass part, track 4 flowing. Like, I feel like those tracks could stand better alone than they could if they had others with them bringing their sound down. It's like in the Coheed episode we just did, a couple episodes back, where I said, you know, they had that one kind of pop-punk rock song on there, and it really worked. It was really catchy, and it worked, but I said if they had more of them on there, it wouldn't work so well. It wouldn't be so catchy. It wouldn't be as special. And I feel the same way about this, and that's what happens when you kind of flirt with some gimmicky stuff sometimes. And not that their sound is overtly gimmicky, it's just, it's very unique, and it's 311, and that's them. And they gotta be careful. How do they still maintain? This is the classic 311 conundrum. They're always gonna deal with this. They dealt with it on Uplifter, which we addressed in that episode. But they're always gonna have this problem. How can they take their sound forward and still be 311? And still be true to 311? That's something that bands that have a very distinct sound and style struggle with. Nappy Roots is struggling with that right now. So, I mean, I agree with you, though. If they would have lost those 2 tracks, this album would have been just pretty kick-ass.
Yeah. Which is probably why I like it better, because I just completely ignore them. I'm not gonna lie, I usually do.
Well, I can't.
That is an argument. That is an argument against this album. That those 2, I think, are just clearly out of place. I've never enjoyed those tracks, but I enjoy the rest of them considerably. Yeah. Also, the lyrics get kind of dumb.
Did you see in my note there, like, because I was just gonna jump in there and say that.
But that is my biggest.
I think they're kind of cheesy at times. Overall message, I like the overall message of it. It's just that the way they go about it, and sometimes even the vocal parts are kind of cheesy. Yeah. The rap parts, I think that, like, it's just kind of lame at times. But it's charming because it's 311 and they're cute, you know? They are. They're cute. And that's what they're going for. And so I'll let them slide. It's just it gets a little annoying. The lyrics kind of get to me after a while. Now, they've changed that on other albums and certain songs. It's definitely a lot like that. Come Original is an awesome song.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, man, that's a song that got him really big, isn't it?
It's not the song that got him really big. I would say if there was one song that got him really big, it was Down, from Self-Titled. But that was a huge hit for them, probably bigger than any hit that they had from Transistor. So it was kind of created this resurgence that people had forgotten about them in the late 90s, and this really did help to bring them back.
Don't ever forget about 311. They're not going anywhere.
No, they're not. They're guys that just love making music. The way they got started, don't know if you know this, they sold all their stuff. They rented a storage unit they sold a lot of their stuff. They put what little stuff they did have in a storage unit, a cheap storage unit, and were literally just homeless, toured for years. And that's what like the album Grassroots is about, is their grassroots following, you know, that they just built from scratch, traveling around. Yeah,
These guys love what they do.
They love. They say they just say we're 5 friends who just love making music, and we're always going to do it as long as we're alive. And you have to love their attitude for that reason.
How were they live?
They were good. It wasn't absolutely mind-blowing, but they played their music well, and it was really enjoyable, and they played an even spread. There was only one album of theirs, and I mean, these guys have a lot of albums. There's only one album of theirs that they didn't play anything from, and it was actually their second most recent, Don't Tread on Me, that they didn't play a single song from.
Interesting.
But yeah.
They play a lot from Uplifter?
Like 3.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So extensive catalog.
Yeah, extensive back catalog. They played like 4 songs from their first album. So yeah,
awesome.
Very good. You want to pick some tracks?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am going to say track 2, Come Original, great song. Probably track 4, Flowing, and track 8, Sever.
I thought you were going to pick tracks 12 and 13, Mind Spinning, Limited. No.
No.
What was the other one you said? Flowing
and track 8, Sever.
I like Sever a lot. I'm going to pick Come Original, track 3, Large in the Margin, because I really like the vocal harmonies there. Something that this band does very well, I think.
Yeah, their harmonies are great.
And over time, they've lost kind of the rap side of things.
Yeah.
Which,
it
went out of style. They've kind of brought it into style, and then as it faded, they kind of adjusted. And then I really like track 6, Life's Not a Race. Relatively solid, a little rough around the edges. I'm going to let Tom go first. He's experienced.
I'm very biased about this. I really am.
Big bias meter here.
Yeah, this album means a lot to me. To tell you the truth, it will probably always be one of my favorite albums, but that's just because it hit me at a very important time.
Well, yeah, it's one of the. If it's the first album you ever bought.
Of these guys, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, if it's the first album you ever bought, the first album I ever bought was Chumbawamba's Tubby. And I was about that age.
Yeah. It means a lot to me, but at the same time, it's not one of their stronger releases. It's somewhere in the middle for me as far as their discography goes. Probably more towards the bottom. But still, I love this band. I don't think they've done anything bad yet. Just some things of theirs are better than others. And so, trying to ignore my bias, I still...
No. Well, we don't do that on this show.
Well...
Screw that, man.
I'm not going to give it like a 95. Yeah, exactly. But because this is one of my favorite bands, but still, I'm going to give this an 82. Cool. Because I think it's a really good album. I think it's not their best, but there's just some damn good songs on here.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a decent album. It's solid. I would recommend it. Some things I'd polish up, make it better. 67. I think this is a good release. I was happy with it and I enjoyed listening to it. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Thanks for the request, Greg. As always, Greg Hatt keeps us in with a good variety of music. Mm-hmm. So your question about 311. What's your favorite 311 album? They got so many. What's your favorite? Because everybody seems to have a different favorite 311 album.
Transistor.
I know you like Transistor. I know Brandon likes Self-Titled the best, which Pat also thinks is their worst album.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I've only heard, select albums. I haven't actually ever heard Don't Tread on Me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyways, what's yours? Tell us and why, because that'll give me something to go listen to. Mm-hmm. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Moving Music Critique Forward.